He enforced the rule that would later be used to question him in public. On a rainy Thursday in Maple County, a hallway camera kept recording after the bell. Parents thought the policy kept kids safe, the policy kept a bruised truth quiet. By Monday's hearing, the handbook wasn't the shield, its missing line became the charge. Stay with me till the very end, because you'll see which policy was broken, which file mattered, and who had to answer for it under oath. The day began with the sound of lockers slamming and sneakers squeaking across the Maple Ridge Middle School hallway. Principal Aaron Kell, the man who spoke in policies and belts his watch at 6:45 a.m. sharp, watched the cameras from his office. On screen 2, a 7th grader named Miles was late again, sprinting. A teacher intercepted him. "Detention," she said, breathing white in late October air. In the office, Aaron nodded at the monitor as if it nodded back. Parents liked Aaron. He was steady, a former math teacher who quoted the handbook when feelings ran high. "Predictability is kindness," he'd say at PTA. In Ms. Chen's English class, Miles sat small, shoulders tucked. His mother, Naomi, checked her phone at a nail salon, waiting for an email about the tardy. Official emails made her nervous, but they also meant rules were rules fair. Someone in that office would later wish they'd saved the first version. After lunch, a commotion, a spilled carton, a shove, and the kind of laughter that stings. Miles swore he hadn't thrown first. In the hallway, Assistant Principal Doyle wrote fast, the incident referral sheet angling across his clipboard like a tilted verdict. "Zero tolerance," he said. 3-day in-school suspension. Ms. Chen raised a hand. "Can he call his mom?" Doyle glanced toward the admin wing. "After processing." In the office, Aaron signed without looking up. The in-school suspension room had a window facing the parking lot, where Canadian maples were losing red leaves in handfuls. The room was not punitive by design, yet its silence was punished. "Hands flat, eyes down," a paraprofessional said. Miles tried to read the laminated respect poster and felt heat in his face. Naomi was still waiting for an email confirming the infraction, not knowing her son was there already. At the time, no one noticed the blank space in the log. At 2:17 p.m., an email arrived, subject line, "Restorative meeting proposed." The message was soothing, "We believe a restorative circle will address concerns without escalation." It promised a conversation, not punishment, and copied the words of the district's non-exclusionary practice memo. Naomi exhaled. False comfort is a professional tone wrapped around a decision already made. Miles remained in the suspension room while the email suggested he wasn't. That mismatch didn't alarm anyone yet, but it should have. Custodian Victor rolled his cart past the ISS door and heard muffled voices. "No bathroom until the hour," the paraprofessional said, eyes on the clock. Victor frowned. The policy allowed bathroom breaks with supervision, he knew because of last year's training. He made a mental note, then pushed on. In the main office, Aaron approved a behavior intervention entry with a single click, moving faster than the policy allowed. Someone would later check the timestamp. The email about a restorative circle came 12 minutes after the suspension began. It read like a solution, it wasn't. The next morning, Naomi entered the office in a blue raincoat, her phone full of unsent drafts. "I received an email," she said evenly, "but my son says he's in school suspension." The secretary's smile was administrative. "The restorative circle is one option." Naomi looked at the attendance mark ISS and felt a pit form. "Who decided that without me?" The secretary glanced toward Aaron's door, where the light was green. "Based on policy." Aaron invited her in. He had the posture of certainty and a bookshelf of framed certificates. He quoted the student handbook, section 4.3 permits in-school suspension for repeated disruptive conduct. Naomi nodded slowly. "Then the restorative circle email was, what?" Aaron folded his hands. "A concurrent remedy." She asked for the incident report. He slid a paper across the desk with 3 lines of behavior and 1 line of conclusion. The 4th line, parent notified, was blank. In the teacher's lounge, Ms. Chen and Mr. Patel pretended not to listen as Naomi's voice carried. "We're a restorative district," Ms. Chen whispered. "It's in our training." Mr. Patel, who had seen too many detours around restorative talk, rubbed his temple. Policy gets quoted only when it's useful. He remembered the fight last spring where detention became reflection time, a rebrand more than reform. At the time, the lunch duty log had a missing initial no one questioned. Naomi walked out with a copy of the report and called the district's family liaison. "The restorative letter implied choice," she said. The liaison, a voice that could wring water from stone, replied, "It should have." "Did you sign anything?" Naomi hadn't. The liaison asked her to forward the email, then added, "Council policy discourages unilateral suspensions for first-time incidents with contested facts." The phrase "contested facts" sat like a coin between fingers. It could flip either way. At 5:43 p.m., an admin logged into the discipline system. The parent notified line, blank earlier, now showed voicemail left at 1:05 p.m. The timestamp was later than when Naomi had been in the office, looking at it blank. Shifting truth often arrives as a minor edit. The system recorded the edit as user, decal, a shared credential Aaron's initial plus Doyle's. The audit trail wasn't hidden, just rarely examined. Someone in that office would later wish they'd checked permissions. Victor, the custodian, swept the hallway and paused by the camera dome. It kept watching after the bell, always patient. He remembered the bathroom exchange. He thought of the policy training slides, especially the slide about dignity and discipline. He had taken a photo of that slide for his daughter's civics class. He looked up at the camera and shook his head, a small private protest in a fluorescent-lit corridor. The audit log note voicemail left 1:05 p.m. appeared after Naomi had already seen a blank line. Friday's PTA coffee brought muffins and murmurs. Word traveled, schools are villages with doors. Parents toggled between empathy and war stories. Naomi brought printed emails. "I want a procedure," she said, "not sympathy." A father from down the street nodded. "We're told the policy protects our kids." Ms. Chen, arriving late, locked eyes with Naomi. "If you file a formal concern, I'll speak to what I saw." Ms. Chen's voice had the clean edge of someone done being careful. Aaron stood at the doorway, approachable by design, and reminded everyone about the culture of care. He meant it, in his way. But he measured care by adherence to documents, not the lives under them. When someone asked about the bathroom rule in ISS, he recited supervised breaks, then said the paraprofessional must have misunderstood. Naomi watched his mouth shape misunderstood and felt heat again, not anger alone, but the weight of practiced deflection. Saturday evening, Naomi received the liaison's message, "Please file a written complaint to trigger the district review." The word trigger made her laugh without humor. She sat at her table under the dull light of a pendant lamp and wrote carefully. She attached screenshots, a restorative email with its soft tone, the report form with its late voicemail, the handbook page highlighting parental notification requirements. She pressed send and whispered, "Be bigger than me." Monday morning, the superintendent's office acknowledged receipt. "We will initiate an internal review, please allow 7 business days." That sentence always reads like a closing when it's actually an opening. Ms. Chen sent Naomi a message, "I'm willing to confirm the timing, I saw the form before it changed." Mr. Patel, less sure, still replied, "If they ask, I'll be truthful." He had once swallowed a contradiction and felt it calcify. He didn't want another stone in him. Doyle, behind a closed door, said to Aaron, "It's a process complaint. We'll be fine." Aaron slid a folder across. "We'll be fine if we're tidy." He sent a staff-wide reminder, "Please ensure all entries reflect appropriate timelines." He called it housekeeping. Ms. Chen read it as a warning. In the custodial closet, Victor texted his daughter, "Remember that dignity slide?" I might need it. She sent back a heart and a "you always do the right thing, Dad." The camera footage request hit the district's records desk Tuesday. Records staff are the quiet backbone of accountability, moving paper like a river. They flagged a mismatch. The bathroom break denial could be relevant under Student Dignity Clause. When the footage was queued, the log showed an internal view at 1:06 p.m., the paraprofessional whispering, "Hold it." The time-stamp glowed pale blue. Records are indifferent to tone. The footage's timestamp, 1:06 p.m., would anchor the difference between what was said and what was done. Naomi's inbox pinged, "Preliminary review conference invite Thursday, 3:30 p.m. She closed her eyes, steadied her breathing, and called her sister. "I'm not trying to make enemies," she said. "I want them to stop pretending the policy was followed." Her sister, a nurse, replied, "Protocols save lives when they're real." Naomi looked at the door, at Miles's shoes by the mat, and decided not to practice her next lines aloud. She wanted to walk in unperformed. The review room had a long table and one too many pitchers of water. The superintendent's designee, Miss Hart, wore plain glasses and no patience for spin. Aaron entered with Doyle, a district lawyer, and a binder heavy enough to bend perceptions. Ms. Hart opened, "We're here to determine whether procedures were followed." Naomi set her folder down. Ms. Chen took the seat behind Naomi, pen already uncapped like a promise. The lights hummed. Naomi began with the restorative email, its language like a bomb. "We believe community repair is possible." She noted the timestamp, 2:17 p.m., and explained that Miles had already been placed in the ISS at 12:54 p.m. The restorative offer, after the punishment began, is not a choice, she said. The district lawyer smiled neutrally. "Concurrent remedies are allowed." Ms. Hart asked, "Please show me where." Aaron's hand went to the binder, searching for a page he believed existed. Ms. Chen testified, "At 1:30, I saw the referral form with parent notified blank." She glanced at Aaron, then down. By evening, it showed a voicemail at 1:05 p.m. Ms. Hart wrote carefully. "Do we have the audit trail?" The records officer, a quiet person with power everyone forgets to fear, nodded, "Yes." Aaron shifted. "The binder is heavy until the paper's weight transfers to facts." Someone in that room would later wish they'd read the training manual again. They watched the footage. The hallway camera at 1:06 p.m. showed Miles asking, small-voiced, for the bathroom. The paraprofessional, uncertain, said, "Policy says no," then looked at the passing clock. Ms. Hart paused. "Policy says supervised breaks are permitted." The district lawyer murmured, "Implementation variance." Ms. Hart's eyebrow lifted, "There's a look that says, try that again." In the corner, Victor watched, ashamed of a hallway he cleaned every night and couldn't keep clean of decisions. Ms. Hart asked about the shared login decal. Doyle said, "It's a tech thing. We share for efficiency." "For efficiency," she repeated, testing the words as if they might break. Who added the voicemail line? Silence isn't always a strategy, sometimes it's a confession trying not to speak. Aaron exhaled. "I did. I left a message, I forgot to log it." Ms. Hart, at 1:05 p.m. or later? Aaron's eyes flicked to the binder and back. The shared login, meant to save time, now blurred responsibility. A small convenience turned into a big risk. They turned to the handbook. Section 4.3 allowed in-school suspension when supportive interventions are insufficient, and required parent notification prior to exclusionary measures except in emergencies. No one claimed an emergency. Ms. Hart tapped that line. "This is not ambiguous." The district lawyer shifted to the second argument, principal discretion. Discretion is a word that wears a suit to pretend it isn't wearing armor. Naomi said, softly, "Discretion without accountability is harmful with a signature." Ms. Hart summarized preliminary findings. The restorative email gave false comfort. The audit trail indicates a post hoc entry. Footage contradicts ISS bathroom implementation, and parental notice occurred after ISS placement. She closed her notebook. I will recommend a public hearing. The word public did what it always does, it pulled color from faces and gave it to the carpet. Aaron swallowed. He had been the policy's voice for years, soon, he'd be the policy's subject. In the parking lot, rain stitched the air. Naomi leaned against her car, phone buzzing with messages. Ms. Chen approached. You were clear, she said. And you were brave, Naomi answered. Ms. Chen looked back at the building. So were you. Victor hovered near the service door, wanting to say, I'll talk if asked. He waved instead. Courage often starts small, like that wave from the person everyone forgets knows everything. The district announced the hearing date, Monday, 6 p.m., Boardroom A. The notice included findings regarding adherence to parental notification policy and non-exclusionary practices. Word moved quickly, parents have networks that rival intelligence agencies. A reporter called Naomi. No interviews, she said. Just attend. The reporter said, will do, and set an alert. In the admin wing, Doyle crafted talking points that tried to make a straight line out of a crooked one. Aaron sat in his dark office staring at the blue screen of the camera feeds. He thought of his first year, when he told a kid that rules were guardrails, not cages. Somewhere along the way, he had begun to police the guardrails more than the road. He considered resignation in a dramatic, private tableau, then set it aside. He would stand at the hearing. He would quote again. He would be measured. He would hope. Monday came with a sky too bright for the mood inside Boardroom A. The walls were beige, the chairs were not designed for change, and yet change kept arriving anyway. Ms. Hart presented the timeline. The board chair asked for public comment. Naomi spoke plainly, I trusted a policy that was used to mask a decision already made. My son was punished before I was notified. The record was edited later. Behind her, people nodded like metronomes of agreement. The board had the three proofs: false comfort, shifting truth, and footage. The only question left, what they would do with them. Aaron stood, hands folded. I regret the confusion, he began. He described the pressures, fights, safety, consistency. He said, we strive to blend restorative practice with accountability. The board chair interrupted, did you notify the parent before placing the student in ISS? Aaron paused, the sentence in his throat fighting for air. No, he said finally. I believed my staff had. Silence made it official. When truth arrives, it does not knock. It sits down without asking. Victor approached the microphone. He spoke softly, like someone who knew echoes. I heard a denial of the bathroom, he said. The training says supervised breaks. He held his phone up with the slide from last year, dignity and discipline. The board chair thanked him. The room hummed differently, custodians rarely get to hold policy in view. At that moment, paper turned human again. Paper is strongest when it returns to the people it was written for. Ms. Hart made her recommendation, a formal finding of policy breach, corrective action for administrative practice, a written apology to the family, and public training on notification and ISS procedures. I also recommend an external audit of the discipline system's login credentials. The district lawyer nodded, then stopped himself. The board voted unanimous. Consequence is sometimes a list you can measure. The chair looked at Aaron. Do you accept these recommendations? Aaron nodded once. Yes. After the vote, Naomi did not cry. She felt a clean fatigue. Miles would return to school with a note in his file reversing the ISS, and Ms. Chen squeezed Naomi's shoulder as they exited. Doyle leaned toward Aaron, whispering, we survived. Aaron stared at the hall camera monitor still visible through the office door and thought, unbidden, it was watching me, not them. Realization is rarely comforting, it is honest. A letter appeared in Naomi's inbox, we apologize for the lapse in adherence to parental notification. The student's record will reflect reversal of ISS and removal of punitive notation related to the incident. The sentence was bureaucratic and tender all at once. It was acknowledged, then repaired. Naomi printed it and taped it inside a kitchen cabinet at eye level for bad days. Accountability should be ordinary, she thought. It shouldn't require a crowd. The district scheduled a staff training on Thursday, Notification and Dignity, Policy and Practice. Ms. Hart asked Victor to open with his slide. He laughed, then said yes. Ms. Chin drafted a simple role play, 2 minutes to call home before any exclusionary decision. Aaron sat in the back, listening. He felt the training land like a weight and lift like a brace. He knew cameras couldn't fix culture. People would. He would try to be one of them. The corrective actions were no longer theoretical: apology sent, record corrected, training booked, audit ordered. In the auditorium, Victor held the mic as if it might refuse him. "I'm not here to embarrass anyone," he said. "I just want us to do what we say." A few chuckled. He clicked on the slide, Dignity and Discipline. The room quieted. He told the story of his daughter asking why some rules felt like punishment before questions. He looked at the paraprofessional, she nodded, eyes wet. Repair starts with being seen rightly. Aaron stepped up. "No binder, no quotes." "I didn't follow the notification rule," he said. "I edited a record after the fact. I called that housekeeping in my head. It wasn't." The room changed with that sentence. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was ordinary truth spoken in a place accustomed to performance. Ms. Chen felt her jaw unclench. Mr. Patel scribbled finally on his notes and underlined it twice, then felt silly and smiled. Ms. Hart walked through the login audit. "No more shared credentials," she said. "We'll use unique IDs and two-factor authorization." The IT director nodded, already drafting the email. Small systems shift big patterns. The paraprofessional raised her hand. "May we get a printed card for ISS bathroom policy?" Ms. Hart said, "Yes. Today." A policy is a promise until it's a card in a pocket, then it becomes a habit. Paper wants a home. Naomi stayed home that morning. She brewed coffee and opened her laptop to write a note to Ms. Chen. "Thank you for telling the truth. I know it wasn't glamorous, just necessary." She thought about how many small, necessary truths keep schools upright. She sent the message and then another to Victor, through the district portal, thanking him for the slide. He responded with a thumbs-up emoji that felt like a handshake across a table. Miles returned to school Tuesday. He walked into Ms. Chen's room and saw the Words Matter bulletin brighter than before. His ISS had been reversed, his record no longer made him smaller. In the hallway, the paraprofessional looked up from her clipboard. "Bathroom?" he asked. "Yes," she said, reaching for the new card like a ritual. On the back, it said, "Dignity is not optional." Miles smiled, the kind teenagers try not to let adults see. In the evening, the board posted the hearing minutes, clear, unadorned prose. Findings: policy breach confirmed, corrective actions adopted, apology issued, record corrected, audit initiated. The post included a line no one expected: "We thank staff and families who brought concerns forward." People shared it like a rare species sighting. The reporter wrote a quiet piece that respected the facts. Sometimes, she wrote, the system corrects itself because people insist. The public minutes and the apology letter are now part of the record, hard to erase, harder to ignore. Aaron drafted his own letter. Not required, not edited by counsel. To the families of Maple Ridge, I used policy as a shield instead of a guide. I'm learning the difference. I'm sorry. He sent it to Ms. Hart first and braced for a red pen that didn't come. She replied, "Send it." He pressed the key and felt a strange calm. Accountability, when it finally arrives, feels like a seat after a long standing. Ms. Chen closed her classroom door and updated her syllabus, restorative practice at Maple Ridge, how we do it here. She added 3 bullet points: call home first, see the person, not the file, and if in doubt, slow down. She taped a small printout near the phone, 2 minutes for dignity. Mr. Patel poked his head in. You're really making cards? She held one up. Paper wants a home, she said, smiling at her stolen line. A month later, a parent new to the district asked the PTA, how do you handle discipline? Aaron answered differently now. We start with a phone call, he said. We document honestly. And if we make a mistake, we correct the record publicly. Naomi watched him, arms folded but not defensive. It wasn't forgiveness, it was observation. Systems don't deserve forgiveness, people do, sometimes, when they earn it. She felt the difference and let it be. Victor replaced a flickering bulb in the hallway outside ISS. He whistled. The camera dome blinked its steady red. He touched the plastic gently, a weird blessing. We're watching too, he said, to no one, to everyone. The paraprofessional waved the bathroom card at him, a little salute. He saluted back with his screwdriver. In some places, repair is quiet work that looks like maintenance. In schools, that's most of it. Ms. Hart compiled a report for the superintendent, case study, Maple Ridge. It read like a civics lesson disguised as a memo. She highlighted 3 things: the danger of false comfort, the power of audit trails, and the human cost of small indignities. She ended with this: policy is only as good as its earliest application in the smallest moment. She pressed send and went home to water plants in a kitchen that smelled like basil and ink. The case study turns a painful episode into institutional memory, so it's harder to do again, easier to do right. On a Saturday morning, the community held a pancake fundraiser for the theater program. Miles flipped pancakes like a pro, concentration tongue out. Naomi poured coffee. Aaron paid for a plate and waited in her line. Morning, he said. Morning, she replied. He looked at the plastic forks. I'm still learning. She didn't rescue him. We all are, she said finally. It was not an absolution. It was an accurate sentence. Sometimes that's the most merciful thing. In the main hallway, a new poster went up, notice, before any exclusionary decision, parents will be notified. Restorative options will be offered first. Underneath, a small card dispenser held index-sized copies of the bathroom policy. A student tugged one out, read it, and tucked it into a pocket. Ms. Chen watched from her door. The lesson was not just rules, it was the sight of adults changing them when they were wrong. That's the curriculum, too. The boardroom is quiet now, chairs stacked, the long table calm as a lake. In a drawer labeled Discipline 2025, there's a folder with the apology letter and the minutes, and a thumb drive with footage that changed the conversation. A hand closes the drawer, the camera light in the hall glows steady. This story is inspired by true events. Names and details have been changed to protect privacy. If you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, subscribe to this channel and never miss the next case where truth prevails.